Hey, what's happening, guys? My name's Johnny. You've tuned into Rules for Rebels, and I have a good video for you guys today. I think a lot of you guys are going to like this. I think a lot of you guys are going to be able to relate to this. And today's video is a very kind of personal one to me. It's kind of my story of how I got started with entrepreneurship and stuff. But even more so, I think it's going to be something you guys can really relate to it, and maybe even kind of draw some inspiration or some hope from. So. Basically, I'll give you guys kind of a quick recap. I don't know if any of you guys ever feel like you look at your brothers or your sisters or your friends and it feels like everybody else is kind of falling into careers that they're having success with and that they're enjoying, and they found something they like and found something that they're good at. And I don't know if you guys have ever been like, if any of you guys feel like, man, I hate every job I've ever done. I hate the job that I have now. I don't know if I'm ever going to find anything that like I'm happy with and fulfilled with. Like, I'm miserable doing my job. There's no job out there that I really like feel like, oh yeah, I want to go do that. And it was kind of funny. I met up with a buddy of mine who works out at the gym I work out at, who I actually met through this YouTube channel. He watches my YouTube channel. We ran into each other at the gym one day, and he introduced himself, and this was a few months back, and ever since, about once a month we'll meet up for, there's a sushi spot kind of in between where we both live. We'll meet up, and they have happy hour specials. We'll have get some sushi rolls and have a couple drinks and kind of talk business and stuff. And I told him this story the other night, and I could see on his face kind of like a light bulb went off, and he really kind of connected with this story. And he's kind of, he's a few years younger than me, has a successful business, very motivated guy, very smart guy, and I could kind of tell that he's maybe where I was a couple years back and just trying to like find his direction or whatever. So I happened to kind of tell him a little bit of my backstory, and I could tell on his face that it just really kind of connected with him. And I actually ran into him at the gym again yesterday, and he said, you know, I was talking to a buddy of mine back home. He's from another state. He said, I was talking to a buddy of mine back home, and he was telling me how miserable he is at his job, and he said, I don't know if I'm ever going to find something that I'm happy doing. I guess his past 2 jobs he hasn't been happy with. And I guess my buddy who I told this story to said, I'm going to call you. I got to tell you this story. I really connected with it. So that's kind of what this video is about. So I'll kind of give you guys a little bit of kind of my backstory. So it took me 10 years to graduate from college with a bachelor's degree. Kind of pathetic, right? It's not pathetic. We all go at our own pace, and you know, we all kind of have our own walk we got to take. But long story short, I finished high school a year early. I was kind of a rebellious teenager, hence the whole Rules for Rebels thing. So I got into some trouble. I wound up doing my last year of high school at, I don't know if you want to call it like a boot camp type school or something like that. So I wound up finishing up high school a year early, going off to college at 17, failed out of college after my first semester, wound up staying down at college, throwing keg parties and stuff to kind of pay the bills. Wound up getting arrested a couple times, kind of mixed up in a lot of that stuff. Wound up moving back home for the next number of years, you know, taking some classes at community college, working some kind of, you know, random BS jobs, every one of which I absolutely hated. And it was kind of like go to school for a while, take some time off and work, school and work, you know, part-time work, part-time school. Did that, finally wind up finishing college at probably 26, 27. So, you know, already a few years behind a lot of my friends who are already, you know, falling into careers and things like that. And this is where that part comes. Like, I remember my sister went through college in 4 years, landed a job downtown Chicago, making 60, 70 grand a year. Just really fell into her job, had success with it, enjoyed what she was doing, was making good money. And I looked at my sister and even a lot of my friends, and I was kind of like, it seems, when I look at them from the outside, it seems like it was so easy for them. It seems like things just kind of fell into place. And for me, here I'm struggling. Like, I hate every job I'm doing. I don't know what I want to do with my life. I don't feel fulfilled. I'm not having success. But anyhow, right after, a while after I graduated from school, I landed this internship with a startup company downtown Chicago. And they did, basically, were kind of a middleman between advertising agencies and publishers like Cron.com, Chicago Tribune, etc. And what my job was, I would run analytics on how many people saw the new Kung Fu Panda ad or the Ford F-150 ad, and make sure that, like, if somebody's buying 6 million impressions or spaced out along XYZ amount of time, and they're not being all blasted out at once. And I liked the atmosphere, right? It was kind of like a hip atmosphere. Like, we could drink beer in the office on Fridays. It was a lot of younger people working there. But my actual job that I did, I actually hated, like, the actual work that I was doing. And I remember I was living in the suburbs at the time, and every morning I would have to take the train into the city. And it was just, you had to go drive to the train station, find a parking spot, take the train to the city. I had a 1.5 mile walk to my work from it, and a lot of times by the time I got to work, it felt like I'd put a whole day in. I hated what I was doing, like my actual work for the job. And I remember I would stay up really late during weeknights. I'd stay up till 2, 3 in the morning because I hated the feeling of, I knew that as soon as I went to sleep, my next waking second, it was going to be 5:30, 6 in the morning, and I'm having to get up and hop in the shower to go do this all over again. And it just felt like a never-ending thing. And I remember kind of feeling like, is this what the rest of my life is going to be? Is like going to a job that I'm miserable doing every day? And I'll try to kind of move through this story pretty quickly. So I probably could have seen myself staying at that job for a while, at the very least maybe moving into another position. It started off as an internship, and another intern who was a girl started at the same day as me. And I was really good at the job, and she was kind of more into socializing. She was a little bit immature. I don't really feel like she had that good of a work ethic. So the people who I was working under really liked me. I think they liked her as a person, but they didn't necessarily think she was a great worker. And I really wanted to get hired on. The company I was working for had a bunch of venture capital companies talking to them. I kind of envisioned a scenario where we were going to get bought out or go public, and everybody working there was going to get rich. And me, since I was an intern and not a real employee, I was going to be the guy, left with, not being a part of this whole thing. So I remember they took us all down to Orlando to meet with the venture capitalists who started like Match.com and eHarmony and a lot of these other sites. And I really thought that things were going to be moving in that direction quickly. So I was really getting frustrated that I wasn't getting hired, right? My internship turned into a contract job. They continued to extend my contracts, and I was making pretty good money and stuff like that. But what I felt like was that my progress was paired with this girl I was working with, and I feel like they didn't want to hire me but not hire her. Like, that would cause some kind of conflict or make her feel weird. So I felt like my progress was kind of held back. So anyhow, long story short, I wind up landing a job at Orbitz, the travel company. And I really didn't want it. It was a good job, right? It was like 60 grand a year. I was just out of college. There were all types of like travel perks with the job. They had a nice gym in the building, free vending machines. It was very much so that kind of like Google atmosphere of like a really friendly place to work. And I really didn't want to take the job. I kind of just wanted to leverage that offer into being hired on with the company I was already with. So I went to my managers, my bosses at the time, and I said, look, I got this job at Orbitz, blah, blah, blah. And whereas I expected them to try to hire me, they actually said, good luck at Orbitz. We wish you the best of luck. And I'm like, well, I really don't want to go to Orbitz. I really want to stay here. So anyhow, I wind up leaving. About a week later, I started Orbitz. It was just way too corporate for me. Like the previous job I was working at, even though it was a professional job, so to speak, you could go into work in gym shoes, jeans, and a t-shirt. Like, it was very, very much so that startup atmosphere, very laid back. And Orbitz, you had to dress up. Like, they had the system where you literally had to document like every 15-minute block of your day and what you were doing. And it just felt way too structured for me. It felt like kind of a big shit show and a waste of time. Like, I'm spending more time documenting what I'm doing than I'm actually doing stuff. So I remember it was 3 days in, and I was like, I hate this. They gave me a BlackBerry because, if your campaign goes down on the weekend on a Saturday night at midnight, I got to be on top of that. And I was like, you know what? This just isn't for me. So I was sitting in a meeting, and I raised my hand, and I said, I can't do this. And I think they thought, like, whatever task we were working on, I couldn't. Well, what do you mean? You just click here and do. And I said, no, I can't do this. I can't work here. And everyone kind of looked at me kind of funny, and I was like, where do I turn in my laptop? So they had me go in and talk to like the manager in HR, and they were trying to tell, look, you're fresh out of college. This is probably overwhelming. Like, give it another try. And I can't do it. So I remember I walked over to, the Orbitz is in Ogilvy train station, Union Station, which I would take back home, was just down the block. So I remember I walked back to Union Station. I remember taking a train home, just kind of feeling like a loser. Like, I can't hack it at being a grown-up in adulthood. I can't hack it in the workplace. I'm you know, the next 30, 40 years of my life are going to be working at jobs doing things I'm miserable doing. And so at that point, I was unemployed. I was out of work for a few months. This is like kind of right after the whole 2008, 2009 crash. The job market for several years after that was very bad. So the prospects of finding like a job weren't looking that great. But a lot of my friends were, you know, a couple years into their career, were having success, were starting to get promotions and raises and making more money. And here I am unemployed without a clue what I want to do. So I wound up just taking the first halfway decent job that I found. It wasn't a career. It wasn't something that I even needed a degree for. I mean, things could have been worse. I think I was making $13.75, which really isn't a lot of money, especially when, you know, you just graduated from college and you're expecting to come out and start making real money and everything. I did have benefits and things like that, but literally for the next 6 or 7 years, I wound up getting stuck in this job. Actually, I don't even know if it was that long, but anyhow, for the next few years, I wound up being stuck in that job. And one kind of interesting thing, it wasn't a great career. It wasn't going to give me a great future. The one thing about it, though, I wasn't miserable doing it. I didn't hate waking up in the morning and going to work. And at the time, that was kind of enough for me. I was like, you know what? I don't need to make a ton of money. I don't need to have all this prestige or success in a career. Like, just the fact that I have a job that I don't hate waking up in the morning and going to, I'm like, you know, I'm kind of satisfied with this. So I worked the job for a couple years, and then it kind of started, you know, I started coming to the realization that, well, look, you know, I may not mind this job, but like this job is never going to progress anywhere else. I can't raise a family. You know, if I wanted to get married and have kids and stuff, like I'm not going to be able to support a family working this job. But at the same time, I didn't want to leave this job and go get another job that I was, you know, being miserable at another job just to make more money wasn't worth it to me either. So at one point, it kind of clicked with me that I was like, you know what? Oh, you know what, let me take you guys back a little bit. So I remember I think it was my 26th birthday or something like that, and this is before I landed this new job. I was unemployed, and I remember my parents took me out for my birthday, and I remember driving home from the restaurant. I think this is probably like the most impactful part of the story, so I don't know how I missed this. I remember driving home from the restaurant, and I remember being in the car, and I remember crying, and just kind of feeling very hopeless, very lost, feeling like a big loser, really. Like all my friends have all this stuff going for them, and here I am, you know, having another birthday, another year passed, and you know, I'm a loser. I'm unemployed. I have no prospects. I don't know what I want to do. I don't feel like there's anything out there for me to do. And then I wound up finding this other job, and it's not like that. It was like, yes, this is my dream job. It was a job, right? So anyhow, I'm doing that job, and to kind of fast forward back to where we were, at some point it kind of hits me that like, okay, I need to start you know, I don't want to leave this job, but at the same time, this job alone isn't going to support me. I need to find something else. I need something else to support me. So that's kind of when, and this job had a lot of downtime. So I started reading a lot, right? I started trying to learn different skills. When I was working at that internet startup, I kind of stumbled upon the idea of internet marketing and blogging and things like that. And that's in large part kind of why I started this YouTube channel. Like occasionally I'll see people on Reddit or something like that, and they might leave a comment like, I have this genius idea. I want to buy things from online companies, have them shipped to other people, and I never have to hold any inventory. And to you and me, it's like, hey dude, it's called drop shipping. Like it's a thing, right? Like a ton of people do it. But this guy wasn't even, you know, this guy on Reddit, you know, just this example guy, wasn't even aware that drop shipping existed, and he thinks he stumbled upon this genius idea of like, okay, I can order products from other people, have them sent to somebody, I pocket the profit, I never have to shell out any of my own. This is genius. And so I guess my point is, there's so many opportunities out there, whether it be creating content, blogging, affiliate marketing, drop shipping, all these things that are opportunities and things that you may be really successful with if you try them, but a lot of times we don't even know that these opportunities exist. So kind of my aim is to connect with people who are where I was a couple years ago, feeling kind of hopeless or lost, and basically just expose them to new ideas and new opportunities. And maybe they're the next $1 million affiliate marketer, maybe they're the next great drop shipper, but without being exposed to the concept that drop shipping or affiliate marketing or, you know, consulting or whatever even exists, they may never stumble upon it. So that's kind of why I created this channel, is to kind of foster ideas and try to inspire people and kind of help people who are where I was a few years ago. And by no means, when I make this video or even ones like it, am I trying to say like, hey, I've made it, use me as an example, blah, blah, blah. But I was at that point where it feels like there's no light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm doing pretty good for my, I haven't made it, I'm not a millionaire, but I feel like I kind of got through that period, and I'm having success, and I have some things going for me, and so I kind of want to help other people who are back there, kind of pull them through that tunnel, expose them to different ideas, encourage them that if you keep trying things, something will click for you. So going back to this story, like I said, having worked for this online advertising company, I kind of realized like it's not just big newspapers and magazines that can get paid for advertising. Like there's small bloggers and publishers out there who can get paid for creating content and monetize their content. So I kind of started dabbling in that. This is way back when I started Rules for Rebels, although I didn't really know which direction I wanted to take it. I didn't even realize that it would turn into like kind of a business channel. I just wanted to start a blog. This is back during the Made for AdSense days. So I heard about how you can get paid $50 per click for like mesothelioma ads, or like car insurance ads, life insurance, etc. So I started blogging about all these like really boring topics that I would never ever rank for anyways. And I'm seeing people hold up these $100,000 AdSense checks, and I'm making 30 cents a month off AdSense, and I'm like, this isn't working either. And then I happened to get into the whole buying storage auctions game, like the resale game, and I had some success with that. And then that came to an end, right? Because the TV show Storage Wars came on, and what used to be me being able to clean up and buy stuff cheap, the things became saturated and way overpriced, and I couldn't make money doing that anymore. And I was like, oh, I thought I was onto something, and that gets crushed. So then I'm like, you know what? If all these new people are coming out, I'm going to find a way to make money off them. So I started the free storage auction lists blog. I used to sell lists of storage auctions. I used to tell people how to make money doing storage auctions. And I was kind of inspired by Glendon Cameron, another YouTuber who now he does like Kung Fu Hustle and marketing stuff and entrepreneurship stuff. I think he's got a media company. But back then he was doing like selling storage auction information and Craigslist hustler guides and things like that. And I was kind of inspired by him, so I kind of got started creating content. I made a course about storage auctions, and then eventually even that wound up coming to an end. But at this point, I'd had a little bit of a taste of some success with online stuff. I'd made a little bit of money. I sort of was figuring out how to drive traffic, and that's kind of, it's just kind of one thing leads to the next, and by putting yourself out there and trying different things, you kind of realize things that you're good at and realize things that you're bad at, and one hustle kind of leads you on to the next hustle. And long story short, it was the job I was doing at the time. I realized there was kind of a niche that they weren't hitting. We had customers coming in asking for this specific product, and my company didn't carry it and really had no interest in carrying it. So one day I contacted my longtime friend, high school friend, and who's my business partner today, and I was like, hey, man, never thought it was going to be a business, but I was like, hey, I think we can buy this particular item from the job that I was working at, and I think we could resell it on eBay and make some money. So that's what we started doing. It started off very small, making maybe $50 a week between the two of us that we would split. And I mean, that's just beer money. I mean, $50 a week between two people is nothing, but it kind of gave us a little bit of a taste for entrepreneurship, and it continued to grow and grow and grow. And again, I still never thought it would turn into like a big business or anything. But after the eBay thing grew and we started making some halfway decent money, we set up a website and it continued to grow, and it just kind of snowballed from there. And then in addition to that e-commerce business, I continued. I was doing I still worked at my old job for 3 years after starting this business before I finally left my job to pursue this business full time. But I used to have to work every Saturday, and Saturdays were kind of slow. It was boring. I hated being there, but I was like, you know what? As long as I'm going to be stuck here, I may as well do something productive. So I started writing ebooks on Saturday, and I could pump out like a 50 or 60 page ebook in an 8-hour workday on Saturday. So I would do that. I would do blogging. I would do affiliate marketing. Got into like the Amazon merch stuff, and just like looking into and keeping my eyes open to different opportunities and kind of staying on the cutting edge of like, what are other people doing to make money? What are some other things I can try? And I don't know, if you listen to like self-improvement stuff, personal development stuff, they always say like luck is a big part of success, but it's the people who are out there doing things that tend to get lucky, right? So, you know, kind of like the whole, you know, you can't win the lottery without buying a lottery ticket. If you start, you know, get out there, starting businesses, start doing things, as you do it more and more, you're going to get better. And then also, in addition to that, as you do it more and more, you're going to connect with people, different opportunities are going to kind of start to present themselves to you. So this video I made, it's not nearly as concise or near like when I told this story to my buddy the other day. Yeah, like I told it really well, right? It was like really concise, really well delivered. In this video, I don't know, I'm kind of critical of myself and critical of videos, but this didn't come out quite in the way that I wanted it to. I think I'm going to post it anyways, just because I think there probably are, you know, some things in here that maybe some of you guys can connect to. But really kind of the main point of this is, you know, if you're feeling like, oh my gosh, is the rest of my life going to be doing something I hate every day? Why does it seem like it's so easy for everybody else to fall into these jobs and fall into things they like and are good at and have success with, and why do I feel like lost and stuff here? So that's kind of my message, is just get out there, start putting yourself out there, start developing more skills. If there's something you have an interest in, continue developing that interest, continue researching that topic, make yourself an expert on it, and you'll be amazed kind of the opportunities that will wind up falling into your lap and the lucky breaks that you wind up getting, you know, when you start putting yourself in these positions. So I watched an interesting Joe Rogan podcast recently, and I forget who his guest was, but he was kind of talking about entrepreneurship and stuff like that, and he was kind of speaking to the audience, and he said, you know, if you're out there working some job you're miserable with and are thinking to yourself, there has to be more than this, he said there is. He said, you know, find something that you enjoy, something you're passionate about, something that maybe you have, you know, you don't have to be great at it, but something that you have a little bit of skill with that you're interested in doing, and just slowly over time continue working on it. Like if it were a plant or a seed or whatever, continue to water that and continue to work on that over time, and it may wind up growing into something really big. And that's kind of how Joe Rogan got his start with you know, podcasting and things like that. So anyhow, that's kind of the video I got for you guys today. This is kind of a little bit something different than we normally do. This was kind of personal to me, but I don't know. I hope you guys can relate to it. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed to my channel, click that subscribe button below, and I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later, guys.